Welcome back to the Patient Magnet podcast. My name is Jared Rohr. I'm the CEO and founder of Aesthetic Conversion, where we do web and SEO. We get you more traffic to your website and get you converting better than ever. I am joined today by Erin MacNeil, an incredible consultant who recently moved to the greatest state in the country. Actually, I don't know if it's the greatest state, but it's the state I live in, Florida, out in Tampa. Erin, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. And yeah, so far I would agree with you. It is the greatest state. I just came from cold, freezing Toronto. But yeah, I do business coaching. So I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I personally started out as an esthetician and kind of worked through that ladder of laser tech and trainer and worked my way up to an international spa director in multiple countries. When I kind of hit my ceiling in that corporate position, I really felt like, I have a skill set in how to run businesses, how to look at financials, how to, make operations efficient. So I bundled that all together and launched the Spa Business Coach back in 2021. So now I coach multi 6 and 7 figure med spa owners, and we're really focused in on creating structure, strategy, and profitability, and really teaching them business acumen so that they can grow and thrive without me after we work together. So really it's to help a lot of providers. And as you know, a lot of med spa owners are also starting out as the lead provider. So we're trying to get them to avoid burnout while they're trying to grow and scale their business. And of course, avoiding slashing prices, avoiding discounting their way to the bottom.
Racing to the bottom. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
So that's what we do.
Now, a lot of consultants, Erin, would not be trying to educate their clients on how to do their job. That seems so counterintuitive. All of a sudden, you're adding so much value that they can say no to working with you. That's incredible.
Well, this is why I chose coaching, is because what I want you to walk away with is a skill set that you can build on and build your business through. But here's the thing, just like anything else, each new level of business requires a different version of you. And because I've been in the industry a long time and worked all the positions myself, and as you know, there are different problems at 5 figures, at 6 figures, at 7 figures in terms of the market you're in or the size of your team. So there's always ways that we continue to progress with clients. So I have some clients we've worked together for the entire time that I've been a business coach. We really care about giving the skill set away.
Cool.
Because the industry is so big, there's enough to go around.
Absolutely. And smarter clients are always better. I'm the same exact philosophy. That's why we have this podcast in the first place, because I found so often, from the marketing side at least, that all of these business owners were being hijacked by the influencer of the week. The influencer of the week said, oh, if you don't have SEO, your business is doomed. And they said, oh my gosh, I have to get SEO or my business is doomed. Then they'd say, oh, if you're not on TikTok 5 times a day, then your business is doomed. And then they'd say, oh my gosh, I got to find. And it was just like all of these manipulative people that were just trying to sell a course or trying to whatever. And the business owner was just constantly like scared and trying to find the solution. And what we try to do in this podcast, or what I try to do with any of my education on stage, is how do I put the business owner back in the driver's seat? How do I put the business owner back to saying, actually, here's the marketing numbers I need to achieve, and here's the 4 channels I'm committed to achieving those numbers through. And if this channel's not performing, then maybe I'll consider switching another one out. All of a sudden, they get to make the decisions, and they get to properly analyze their business, because whether or not I work with them, if I ever do, it's going to be way easier, because we're all judging ourselves by the right metrics at that point, rather than like, oh, like this one color on my website was wrong for a couple of days, so now I'm mad at you, rather than it's like, yeah, but you got 45 new leads in 24 hours. Like, what are we talking about? It's like, of course we do want to change that one color on your website, whatever. But our goal was conversion. Our goal was, did we get eyeballs, and did we convert those eyeballs? So I love that you give away education and that you increase, how you said, the business acumen of the practice owner. So today, what we've been doing, Erin, with our with our audience is we have been going through the digital sales funnel. So we talk about fascination, acquisition, conversion, and engagement. Fascination is getting eyeballs on the business. Acquisition is turning those eyeballs into a lead. Conversion is then selling that lead and getting that butt in a patient chair. And then engagement is re-engaging that list over and over for years to come. So if you think about it like a funnel. So today we're going to talk a little bit about acquisition, a little bit about conversion, which is how do we give killer offers to that audience. So we've done all the work of, okay, we have a great social media presence. We have a great SEO presence. We have a killer YouTube channel. We have a great website. We are driving tons of attention to our business, but for some reason, we're just not getting leads and people aren't working with us. And then when they do work with us, it's not our dream client. So what I want to talk with you about today is how do we build those offers that actually work in favor of the business? How do we build promotions that actually positively impact the business and not negatively, increase their rate of just those discount shoppers? So what are your thoughts initially on discounts in general within a med spa or within a clinic? It's a loaded gun.
Yeah. Okay.
So tread lightly.
So for the everyday operation, I don't agree with running your entire strategy off of discounting. But I do feel that people need to be incentivized to work with you or be exposed to your type of work, the outcomes that you could possibly give to them, and really give them the opportunity to decide to work with you by rewarding them with something. And the something doesn't always have to be a discount. It can be a value add. It can be something that is valuable to your client. Or let's back up for a moment. If you're getting people in that are discount shoppers, because that's what your messaging says,
right?
I feel like you will feel that propensity and that need to continue on that discount cycle, and like you'll never get off the wheel. So you have to pick and choose and be more strategic with it. So I 100% support discounting and value add to drive traffic. I feel like, it's like a tale as old as time. It works and people love it. And even when you look as a consumer, all of the other things that you have going on in your life, your internet, your phone, all of these things, when you choose a new provider, they give you incentives as a new client. So it wouldn't be weird or, different if you gave them an incentive to try you for the first time. I think it's when you drag that discount out forever, or you feel like you're on that hamster wheel of like, what promo are we doing this month? How many new clients will we get? Right?
Absolutely.
That's where I think I 100% agree with you. Like you're discounting your way to the bottom and you won't be able to stay afloat.
Now, what do you think? So what about like luxury brands? What about like a Louis Vuitton or a Gucci? How do they incentivize behavior? Because, they don't necessarily give out discounts, but I'm sure they do other things that incentivize more connection and help the person make that decision to work with them.
So here's the interesting thing. So I worked in luxury hospitality for a long time as a spa director. Yeah. And what you learn working in those environments, and similar like out, in a luxury hotel, the ideal client is the Louis Vuitton, the Chanel, the Prada shopper, right? And what you learn is the value in luxury is about paying attention to detail. And when you shop at a place like Louis Vuitton or Chanel, you get offered a glass of champagne or a glass of wine. You get offered a personal shopper. You're recognized by your name. They keep a record of everything that you've purchased. They even might send you new marketing or new drops of product or garments that are coming out because that's within your style house and your personal shopper knows that.
Yeah.
That does cost money. Of course, you've got to pay a personal shopper. You have to pay for the champagne. So in a way, there is that added value. So when we look at like luxury brands, what they're really doing is studying their client and offering things that feel very intuitive to the experience that they will have for the time frame that they have you. And it's the same in hotels. If you've stayed, out of Four Seasons, I worked for Rosewood. I worked for a Rosewood hotel group. And, the onboarding of a guest there is so different than a regular 3-star or 4-star hotel. The amount of questions, the way they set up your room, the attention to detail, They watch your every move. They watch where you leave your clothing. They watch where you leave your toothbrush. They watch everything so that they can be very intuitive. And so, again, we're talking about discounting and things like that, but you don't actually need to discount. Rather, you can add value or just elevate that service overall, add those attention to details so that the perceived value is way higher. Because even if it's an incentivized treatment to bring them in, what you really want is that person to go, I would have paid full price for that. I would have paid double for that.
True. Now, when it comes to what is getting, the main thing I want to talk about here is like, now we've got the eyeballs in the business. How do we get the person to say, yes, here's my contact information? Are you finding that lead magnets, things like, some sort of a value offer, like come in for a free Visia and we're going to do a deep scan on your skin? Or is it a new patient offer that you're seeing drive a lot of things? Hey, you get $50 off your first appointment, not every appointment in the month of March or something like that. I had a client that we advocated, they were sending out their very first e-blast, and we said, okay, great, yeah, you could do. They're like, oh, we really want to push hydrofacial. I said, great, so why don't you do something that says, hey, if it's your very first hydrofacial, we'll give you a nice little deal on it if you have never done it before. And what they did was they said all hydrofacials are 20% off this month. And what happened? All of their currently scheduled ones that they forecasted for were like, hey, I saw that we're doing a deal this month. Do we get a discount? And they were like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. We promised you would, and here you go. And they came back and they're like, that's why you said only first time people. And I was like, yeah, because your discounts should incentivize more of the behavior you want. So if you want someone to add more verticals, then reward that and make them look for, oh my gosh, if I got a first time discount on hydrofacial, I've always wanted to try BBL Moxie. Maybe I'll just get like a new patient discount on that. Or, oh, I've heard about Latibo. Maybe I'll do talks for the first time. Oh, maybe I'll try fill. All of a sudden they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get a little discount. And you're thinking, wow, I've just added 5 verticals of service to one person. Like that, my LTV has shot through the roof because I'm encouraging them to do more of that. Or bulk. You're saying, oh my gosh, you're buying Botox for the year. Absolutely. Dysport for the year. I'd love to give you a little kickback or something, because, and then they start thinking, oh, well, how can I buy all of my stuff in bulk? How can I give you more of my money at once? You're like, great, packages of lasers. And then the third reason that I usually say is loyalty. If they're members or if they're coming to your events, if they're showing up and they're participating, then it's like, great. Yeah. We'd love to encourage that with financial opportunities within our business. I like thinking about it as like you're rewarding to get more of the behavior that you want. But are you seeing across the board, whether it is a new patient offer that's working really well, or lead magnets, things like a Visia, free consult, or things like that? What are you seeing work to get people in, to get those eyeballs into the sales pipeline of clinics?
I agree with you. Behavior that is rewarded is repeated. That's something that we say all the time.
It's true. Very true. I love that.
That you have to pay attention to because your clients are paying attention. I also definitely believe with the new patient acquisition, you need to give them something, something. It doesn't have to be a discount, but you want to give them some kind of incentive to try you out and be exposed to your body of work. So I definitely see that the first time patient incentive works 100%. It always works. Now, if it's not working, it's your messaging. It's the type of language or verbiage that you're using, or the type of positioning you might have positioned that offer for yourself instead of your ideal client. So if it's not working, I promise it will work. You just need to, figure out that messaging. I also love that you mentioned lead magnets, because I feel like this is something in our industry that people do not tap into. I find lead magnets work best when people are a brand new, not client, but they've just discovered your brand. They're a new lead on Instagram. They've just followed you. They maybe joined your Facebook group or Facebook page. They just joined an email. Having those sequences set up for someone who has just been exposed to your brand as a first time, lead magnets are the things that nurture and start to, again, expose people who are like, they've just stumbled upon you. And that's a really great way to nurture them into wanting to take action. most people need to see a little bit of proof. They need to build a bit of trust. They're not going to coldly, I would say, most people, you could probably tell me different. Most people who, if I just followed your business today on Instagram and then you sent me like, hey, free consult, I'm most likely not going to book right away. I need to see a couple things that you do, and I need to be convinced that this is worth my time to go into, or that you have solutions that solve my problems. Yeah. So I love lead magnets. I think people don't use them enough. I also think probably just in general, we're not exposed to it enough to really understand like how do we maximize and optimize lead magnets in our industry for specific client types or specific categories of treatment. But I definitely think the incentivized first time exposure to a treatment or a service or a product, incentivizing that, it definitely works. And yeah, you don't want to just say like, oh, for the month of May, everything's 20% off, because whatever you forecasted or whatever you projected, whatever's on your book right now, take off your 20% or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Gone. So forget that, right? And also it doesn't really incentivize the behavior, as you mentioned, it doesn't incentivize the behavior to try something different. Right. So even again, when you are doing that, you also want to dig into your own database of current clients to say, hey, I have, 20% of our clients have not tried the hydrofacial. I need to include them in on that, or do a separate segmented email that is targeting your existing clients that says you've been a valued client, or you've spent X amount of money, or you've done X treatment so many times. This is something that most of our other clients doing that treatment do, where you want it to feel like we chose you rather than we're just marketing to anyone who has eyeballs.
Yeah. And in my opinion too, so let's say so there's the lead magnet route, which is you have some sort of an offer, some sort of a free thing they can get access to. Maybe it's a PDF that's like, here's how to treat here's how to treat skin based on your skin type. You can download the PDF. And when they download it, they're entered into an email sequence, and they get emails every 3 days for the next 4 weeks or something like that. And every time it's just value. You're like, oh, here's what you have to know. Here's what you have to, it takes a ton of time to prep, but then you set it and forget it forever, which is awesome. So there's that side where it's a lead magnet and you want to be very intentional. And there's a discount side where it's like, okay, we give $50 off for the first appointment or something. And then the person comes back the next time and they say, oh, well, I got $50 off my Botox last time, my neurotoxin last time. And you say, actually, yeah, so that initial offer is actually our membership pricing. You get access to our membership pricing. So if you do want that discount, we'd happy to extend it to you if you want to sign up for our membership program today. And then you get to let them know what types of benefits you have in your membership programs, because nine times out of 10, in fact, 10 times out of 10, there are discount incentives for being a member at these clinics. So whether it's like, okay, great, you get 10% off of all talks, or you get to lock in a certain per unit price of talks, or whatever it is, skincare products cost this much. There's always some sort of incentive in those membership programs. And so Voxy did a great job of this. Adrian Easterling did a great job of, after the first appointment, they just made it so that like the next time you do business with us, you'll be losing money if you're not a member.
I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, they had like 500 member signups in like a summer or something like that. It was something so bonkers that like they were like Repeat MD's #1 client within like a year of launching or something. It was unbelievable. Now, are there certain things for that initial like lead magnet that you're seeing work, whether it is some sort of a downloadable PDF, whether it is a webinar, whether it is are you seeing certain types of initial offers work, or a free skincare gift with your first appointment, or I'm not sure, but are there certain things that you're seeing work across the industry with your clients?
So the things that I see that bring the most value, where people start to trust you, is like the stuff that actually positions you as the authority, right? Okay. Where you're speaking about a specific problem you solve for that particular client. So again, when you develop lead magnets, you want to think about what are the typical problems or pain points that people have they come to me for. We need a lead magnet for each one, and you want to cycle through them, because not everyone in your lead list is going to be the exact same type of client. They have different needs and wants and desires. So I think it's where, again, like you said, your onboarding lead magnet sequence needs to give some kind of value, when we see it work really well is where there's any accountability, where it becomes like something they want to be a part of, whether that's watching a video and then filling something out so that they can, again, like a survey or a test, right? Like take this test to find out what type of skin you have. And then you would then send them, like, based on your skin type, this is what we would recommend for you. And honestly, you're not giving anything away other than the answers to the problems that they have. So I always say, it's like when you're on a podcast or you're doing a talk, you talk about the why and the what, and the how and the when is with you. So you want to really focus in on those things, as like, why do they need this and what do they need to do, so I can position myself to teach them why and show them what, so that they build that trust and then come to me, and I'll be top of mind when they recognize that this is a pain point. But also part of your sequence needs to agitate their pain point as well.
Of course. You got to poke it. You got to remind them that it's a problem in the first place.
100%. Because some people might feel like it's something surface, but as the professional, it's a little bit of a deeper issue, or it's coming from somewhere that they're not really aware of. But yeah, I think those value add pieces where it really introduces your brand and slowly brings them in, because you're giving them something they haven't had before. And most of the time, honestly, it's like, just give them clarity and take away the overwhelm, because, with Google and ChatGPT and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, your clients are getting overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. So solve that problem first. It's like, if you're someone who has this, keep reading, watch this video. I'm going to break this down for you. And at the end, I'm going to give you our 10 steps to better skin.
Yeah. Yeah. And make it the least common denominator, the greatest common denominator. Yeah. The greatest common or least common denominator, whatever it is, the one that everybody struggles with, not the hyper specific issue, because then you're only going to get a hyper specific and small amount of clients. I think Aesthetic Immersion does a great job of this. Lori and Gideon over at Aesthetic Immersion, they have a safety series where it is a free 52-week email list of here is everything you need to know in order to keep your patients safe. And for them, it's like, this is our gift to the industry. Here's everything, because they just want safe patients and great outcomes. And every single practice owner needs it. And so they wrote this big email, like list of emails that says, oh, here's how you take care of your patients. Here's what happens if you get an occlusion. Here's what they have, like, I believe it's 52, maybe it's 40 something, but I believe it's 52 emails.
What?
What's that?
When they sent that email, they focused on what you need to pay attention to, so that when you need the next steps, you go back to them.
Yeah, exactly. And they're positioning themselves as the experts. They're positioned because their whole business is their safety, because Aesthetic Immersion's whole business is training injectors. And so I believe what they're doing there is they're positioning themselves as, okay, great. When you do have problems, you're going to call us to help you solve it, or when you're ready to take that next step, we are already teaching you so much right now. Of course, you're going to reach out to us. And maybe they have because I'm not subscribed to it because I'm not an injector, but maybe they have like call to actions in there as well that say, oh, by the way, we have our next course coming up, or we have our next whatever coming up in each of these emails that have a 85-90% open rate. Which is huge. And so, I think that's the biggest note for clinics. So the discount route, if you're going to give a cash offer off or percentage off for a first appointment, that's great. And generally you have a quicker move into your sales pipeline there. The lead magnet route, which is the warm up route, you have to be intentional. So if you opt to say, I'm not going to give a discount as my first point of entry into my business, I'm actually going to give something that showcases my expertise. You have to back that up with work to prep that pipeline, because you're going to have to talk to these people via email for weeks before they finally make their choice. It's not just oh, great, you took the skincare quiz, now you're automatically going to become a patient. It's like, now they have 7, 8, 9, 10 emails that they get before they say, oh my gosh, actually, this person really knows what they're talking about. So making sure that you back up that claim of being concierge with concierge behavior, which is extra value and extra white glove. And maybe you're calling them and talking to them about the results before they've ever even spent a dime with you, which is what, a Louis Vuitton or a Four Seasons does.
I love that you brought up that concierge and white glove treatment, because as we talk about an intro offer or an intro incentive for them to try something with you, one of the things is sometimes we get those leads in and then they come in, and as the owner or the provider, you're like so excited. You're like, this is working. But then in the clinic, we drop the ball. In the consult, we drop the ball. So you want your client journey and your client experience to match what your marketing is saying, right? You can't have high level marketing and then come in, and in the consult, you have a basic consult. You're not really digging into pain points. You're not really finding out what else can I help you with, right? When we talk about what else can we introduce them to or reward them for in the future to try with us, we first have to know, like, what are all of the things they're struggling with, not just the one thing they had, happen to book that day. The other thing is, the client journey, right? The follow-up. Even, talking about a first-time patient, like, how do you thank or recognize or acknowledge a first-time patient after? Do you do anything for that? And so when you're trying to build that loyalty and build that repetition and that repeatable income, like, it's not just about having a great sales funnel that brings people in. Like, you have to do the heavy lifting in clinic as well.
Yeah. And you have to be responsible with those leads too. So it's not just, you're not just entitled to them once they submit. You need to go through the whole process. So we have we had a client who was doing this weight loss quiz or something like that, a hormone quiz. It's like 5 questions, and those 5 questions will let you know kind of where your hormone levels are generally at and if you should consider doing HRT or not. And they were getting something around like $8 a lead for it. And they had a 45% conversion rate of those leads. And I was like, buddy, how are you doing this? He goes, we call them the moment that they submit. We call them seconds later. And if they don't pick up, we immediately call back one more time. And they pick up. The pickup rate is like 80% or something like that. He goes, we just have our team just literally like shaking, waiting at the phone to like pick it up when the person submits the lead. And he goes, we get back to them quickly. And most clinics that I see, they'll have an offer or they'll have some sort of a lead magnet, and they will not get back to their leads fast enough. And they think 24 hours is fast enough. 10 minutes is like 10 to 20 minutes ish is around what that timeline should be for somebody that's submitting for you to get the best result. I mean, I try to give clinics a break sometimes and say, as long as you get back to them within the day, but I tell them, like, realistically, to get the best, if it's a solo provider that's also treating, then I'm like, look, try to get back to them within the day. But what I tell them to watch is their conversion rate, is how well are you converting those leads into new appointments. And if that dips, then they need to hire like a full-time appointment setter. When it comes to that role, the front desk role, what are your thoughts on how that front desk person needs to be converting these offers or converting these leads that are submitting, whether it's a quiz or it's some sort of other lead magnet? How quickly should they be getting back to them, and what kind of verbiage should they be leaning towards when they're on those calls?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the faster you can get back while someone is in their feelings about whatever test they just took or survey they just took, and their mind is focused in on that service, that treatment, that outcome, whatever it is. So get them, like, strike while the iron's hot, right? Yeah. I agree. 24 hours sometimes can feel like a lifetime. After 20 minutes, I'm already moved on to another task. So you want to think about, like, a lot of people are doing multiple things at the same time. So the faster you can do it, 100%, I agree. 24 hours, yes, but there's probably going to be a drop off. So even if you start looking at or tracking, as you mentioned, I love tracking. Tracking's my thing. If you're tracking that within 24 hours and the average time span it takes you to get back to someone is 5 hours, and your conversions start dropping off, move quicker and still track and see if moving quicker and getting them in 2 hours and then 20 minutes. But if you start seeing an influx of new leads, what that's telling you is you probably need to hire someone to help do that. Again, from a luxury perspective, and I know not every med spa operates with a luxury lens in mind at first, but when we're charging $500 to $3,000 a ticket price, like, you should really consider some attention to detail. Like, there shouldn't be, and this is just a me thing because again, I worked in luxury hotels and spa resorts. There shouldn't be a phone ringing where the clients can hear. There really shouldn't. So if you're going to be putting someone on phones and their one job is to answer emails, answer DMs, answer or call people right away, have it in an isolated area or have someone work from home, have someone work virtually. That's cool. What we did in hotels. We never, in a luxury space, like you will not have a phone where clients are checking in.
It looks tacky.
100%.
It's distracting.
Yeah, it ruins the experience. And then also you've got someone who's half ignoring you because they're already on the phone with someone else. And it's just like, it just disrupts everything. So I know lots of people don't have back of house space, but consider maybe hiring someone off site where it's a minimum wage job, or you can incentivize based on closed deals or conversions and have them do it from home. I think if you're bringing in enough conversions where you're getting a good ROI, think about your time as money, right? If you could spend a little bit more time with the patients that come through your door and pay someone else to answer the phone, answer DMs, and get it done faster, that's only better for your brand positioning because people are going to be like, they answered right away, they got me in right away, they paid attention. Yeah. And the second part to your question is like, what should they say? So I use this example of how things should go on the phone, including like your admin person, reception, concierge, whatever your title of your person answering the phone or communicating with clients, it should really come from a place of discovery. And I say that because so many people will call around like, how much do you charge per unit of toxin? How much per syringe? And what you don't want is someone to go, hey, I just saw your ad. How much do you charge? And what you don't want is the person to go, oh, well, it's $250. It starts at $250. And they're like, okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I want you to think about this in the way that like, let's just say that I have a flat tire. Now I'm going to call into the mechanic and I'm going to say, hey, can you change my flat tire? They're not, how much is a flat tire change? They're never going to say a flat tire change starts at $20. The first thing they say is it a puncture or is it a slow leak? Yeah. And then they're going to ask, well, how long has this been going on for? Have you dealt with this before? How old are the tires? Like they're going to walk through a series of questions that diagnose if what they actually need to book you in for is a tire change.
It might be new tires altogether. It might be there might be some other major problem with your car that you're not even aware of.
Cross-sell you and they'll be like, while you're in here, you need an oil change. Sounds like something's running bad. So I want people to think about and train their admin team or their concierge team to answer the phone in that way. I don't accept the excuse that they're not, service providers, they're not estheticians or skincare specialists or whatever. If they work there, they have to know the menu and they have to know how to diagnose to a certain degree over the phone to just get them on the book for the right thing.
Of course. They should know the thing that solves the problem at least, where somebody 100%. Says, oh my gosh, how much is tox? And you say, well, where are you wanting to be treated? They say, oh, well, I want it in my lips to fill more volume. And you're like, well, actually, that we don't use neurotoxin for that, and they're like, well, what do you use? And it's like, well, it depends on what your lips look like. We'd have to have you come in for a consult, but we might be using filler for that. And we might be using different situations to make your lips look more I have no idea. We gotta see ya, and then all of a sudden you've established yourself as an expert and you've answered the person's question in the sense that they're like, oh, actually, I have no idea what I need. I actually need an expert to tell me.
Well, and also you're building that trust in that first phone call by asking the questions because you're like, wait a minute, I just want to make sure I don't misquote you. And I definitely don't want to put you in for something that you don't need, or I don't want to book in the wrong service. So I'm just going to walk through a couple things to make sure that what you want to have done is actually, in fact, going to be the thing for you, or I'm quoting you the right starting price point. That way you're establishing that trust. Because most people are going to say, oh, it's, X dollars per unit. Okay, let us know if you want to book, click, right? Yeah. And what you're really trying to do is be different from everyone else. They're going to get off the phone and think, wow, you know what? They were really thorough. They walked me through everything, really transparent. I feel now better about booking an appointment with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And also who is this? Sorry, I didn't grab your name. It's like, oh my gosh, well, my name is Lillian Rohr. And it's like, okay, well, Lillian, wonderful. What's a great phone number for you in case we get disconnected? And it's like, I think oftentimes you'll hear that when you call somewhere, and you don't realize they're entering you into a CRM when you're saying that information. They're not saying that in case we get disconnected. They want to document this phone call properly.
Yeah.
And so there's so many other little touch points that you're like, oh, now I can text Lillian and say, hey, by the way, I got a little more. We just had an appointment open up on Friday for that laser you were asking about, or whatever it is. And you can hopefully lead them in that direction as well. And I agree, establishing expertise, and they don't have to say, oh, this is what's going to solve your problems, because then they say, great, how much does that cost? You're like, oh, well, actually, I'm not sure, because you might need multiple syringes. All of a sudden, once we start prescribing on the phone, it's also not super helpful. What we need to do is position the potential patient to know, like, we know what we're talking about. And they could even build a series of questions that they have as just boilerplate for their front desk staff for the first month that they're doing it, to go through, where they say, okay, great. If this, then this. If not this, then this. If this, then this. They can have a whole series of questions that they go through every time they pick up the phone with somebody.
Yeah, you can create those internal flow charts. It's like, if they say yes, follow through with this series of questions. If they say no, you follow through with this series. And you want to do the same thing in the consultation as well, so that it's not about being able to diagnose on the spot or come up with a perfect solution on the spot. Yeah. It's really like, I just want to make sure that we don't waste your time, or that you're not led down a road where you think one thing is one thing, but it actually turns out to be another. And we really just care about getting you exactly, specifically, precisely what you need.
Optimal outcomes. Yeah. And are there numbers that you look for as a consultant for, like, conversion rate of lead to appointment? That you're shooting for those? Obviously, it varies significantly depending on what the clinic offers, or maybe the volume of their leads, or where they're getting their leads from. But are there any, like, ballpark conversion numbers that you're shooting, that you're hoping that your clinics get, or trying to coach them to get?
So this is an area that I am really trying to build up people's tolerance for tracking.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I find, like, I don't know about you, but we do a lot of tracking with KPIs and financials and metrics. And we have a simple spreadsheet we share with clients, and it's really about consultation conversions or new lead conversions. And to be very honest, I like to use our own internal metrics from our database of clients. And ours goes anywhere from 10% to 90%. So it's not a very good gauge, because I find that people are still very reluctant to dive into, like, the spreadsheets and all the things. And because it's more of one of those manual types of tracking where someone actually has to enter in something, depending on the software that you're using, it's a difficult one to track, to be honest. So I don't really, if you're probably a better person to answer this question. But it's something that we've started to push on our clients to track, because it's important to know what you're saying is converting, what your ads are doing are converting, or again, even if we just look at, if you have a team of 5 or 10, who is actually converting versus who isn't converting. And then we train the team with the tactics or the frameworks that the person who is converting, we try to point toward behavior that works. So we're still trying to build that database.
I'll tell you, I hear ranges everywhere. So, like, Line released a stat that said 55% of organic leads should be turning into, like, top performing clinics are converting 55% of leads. I've spoken to other consultants, and they say, oh, I try to get all of my clinics up to 80% conversion of lead to appointment booked. And then another consultant said, oh, I shoot for 65%. And I'm like, man, I tell our client, what I tell them right now, and that's more why I'm asking you, is I tell our clients, look, like, let's shoot for 55%. Because Line released that stat, so we'll use that for now. And if you dip below 40%, you need to consider either reinventing that sales process or hiring a new person to make those calls for you. And their whole job, which I love, by the way, that you said that person should even be on site or technically, like, in the front desk area, because I always advocate that whoever that person is calling your leads, make that their only job. They're not janitorial. They're not ordering new products for you. They are not in charge of fulfilling e-commerce orders. They are 100% in charge of making your schedules as jam-packed as possible. And then the split that you're proposing there, where the front desk, the actual front desk staff now Their whole job is rebooking rate. Their whole job is when a person comes in, I have enough relationship with them. When they come back, I say, okay, great. You're coming back in 3 months. They say, okay, great. Thank you so much, Jessica. I really appreciate you rescheduling me. Like that strategically aligns your front desk staff so that they can get that maximal rebooking rate too. So
yeah.
killer.
And also positioning your other offers, right? Where it's like, oh, also, Jared, I was looking at your profile, and before you go, I just wanted you to know you've actually come to us 3 times already this year, and you would have already qualified for our membership bonus. So I just wanted to let you know you would have saved on today. Is that something that you wanted to sign up for? Like, it gives time and space for them to focus just 100% on patient care, on what the better outcome for that patient would be. Is like, listen, I'm here to help you save money since you are coming on a regular basis anyway. So I think, again, it's like with marketing, you can do the best marketing and get all these leads in. But if you don't have those internal systems, it might just fall apart. So you have to be tracking. You have to have your internal systems, those touch points and checkpoints of the client journey of who says what and when they say it and why it's important and why you don't skip it, right? That becomes your brand standard. That's really like holistically how you get those higher conversions. I mean, if you're only doing one part, which is like, I'm throwing money at marketing and all the leads are coming through, but no one's staying, that's an internal problem.
Totally. And oftentimes the marketing company is the one who's crucified for it. They're like, oh, you're not doing a good enough job for us. It's like, we're crushing, it's so funny that you mentioned the, and we'll wrap up here, but, I had, SEMrush is, have you heard of them? The SEO company. SEMrush is a company that SEO companies like ours will track performance for local clinics. And SEMrush was emailing me for weeks saying, oh, we want to talk to you about our business enterprise program and our business elite program. And I kept rolling my eyes. I'm like, they're just trying to sell me on some bigger thing that we really don't need. And I was just like, no. He wouldn't leave me alone. He was our rep. And I was like, okay, fine. Let's have a meeting. And I'm going in ready to be like, dude, we're already spending $800, $900, $1,200 a month with you guys. I don't want to spend more. And he was like, Jared, you're paying a la carte for a lot of accounts. And if you switch to that enterprise thing, you'd be paying like $600 a month instead. And I was like, oh, what? And he was like, yeah, I noticed how many a la carte accounts you added. And I realized that if you just jumped into business, it would save you a ton of money. And I was like, oh my gosh, go for it, dude. Thank you so much. I was so excited because of that type of call where the front desk says, hey, by the way, like, you're losing money by doing it like this. We'll save you money if you jump into our membership program. And it's more of an incentive for SEMrush because they know we're going to use more of their tools. We're going to get more integrated into their system. They're not going to lose us. And it's the same deal with the clinic. So anyway, for the audience, what we've talked about today, we've talked about offers that work, whether possibly that's a discount you want to reward. What did you say? I loved it. Behavior that is rewarded is repeated. Okay. So if you are offering discounts of any kind, you should ensure that you're rewarding behaviors that you want to see more of. Or if you don't want to offer any kind of discount whatsoever, maybe you consider building a lead magnet flow for your clinic, whether that's a skincare quiz or an HRT quiz, or maybe a PDF, or maybe a special free consultation, and you really beef up that consultation so that people are like, oh my gosh, it's so much value. Whatever it is, you're adding value to get them to say yes to reaching out to you. And additionally, we got some bonus content where we talked about how to build out that contacting pipeline, how to effectively gear up your staff to reach out to those leads. This has been super informative, Erin. If somebody wants to work with you guys, what do they need to do? They need to go to your website, your Instagram. What do we do to say, oh my gosh, please help me get all those incredible results and hire all of my staff and train them? What do we do?
You can visit my website, thespabusinesscoach.com. You can message me on Instagram at the Spa Business Coach. We've got our discovery call, which we do absolutely complimentary. We really just chat with you on what levers you can pull inside of your business that get you from feeling stuck to unstuck, so that it maybe will paint a little bit of clarity for you and next steps for you. Totally complimentary. So if that's something that you feel stuck, reach out to us. Myself or someone on my team will be happy to give you some clarity on what are the next steps for your business.
Amazing. Well, Erin, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, this has been another episode of The Patient Magnet. If you enjoyed that, please leave a comment, a like, subscribe to the podcast, especially if you're in Spotify. They have all these new like little tools in Spotify. So I'm really trying to take advantage of the algorithm. So if you're listening on Spotify right now, please engage so that I can see all of the data and know what matters to you. So leave a comment if you want to hear some other guest or you want to hear some other topic, please let us know. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.